Hello, Charlie TCG here. Welcome back to Looking Ahead, the series where I break down and analyze the meta, what's happening over in Japan, and how will it impact Taiwan. Rotation is finally here over in Japan, so today we're breaking down to see exactly how is the meta really shaken up as we lost all the Sword and Shield art cards. We'll see exactly did the owner's Pokemon make a splash, has Regidrago kind of come back to the metagame, and why on earth did Milotic win the first three City Leagues events on Friday? Is it now a new threat? Plus some brand new cards got revealed, and one of them is looking very meta-defined. Just want to say thank you so much for the support on this series. 2 years ago, I came up with the idea by talking and analysing Japanese metagame because of post-rotation, and the sport's been absolutely incredible. And in 2 episodes' time, we hit episode 100 of Looking Ahead. So I just want to say again, thank you so much for the support. So without further ado, let's jump right into brand new cards. This card here, Steven's Metagross EX, is looking very meta-defined. It looks incredibly strong. So first of all, it's a Stage 2 Pokemon with 340 HP with the amazing ability. Once during a turn, you may search your deck for a basic Psychic Energy and a basic Metal Energy and attach them to your Psychic Pokemon or Metal Pokemon any way you like, then shuffle your deck. If this card seems very familiar, it reminds me a lot of Metagross GX in the Sun and Moon era. This is incredibly powerful, huge, really very strong energy acceleration, and honestly, it works really well on its own. 340 HP, which is good, and the attack Metal Stomp does 200 damage, which isn't too bad. But like I mentioned before, you could use the X boot to energy accelerate to it and attach return, which is really, really strong. And it has two incredibly good partners being revealed. Steven's Carping reduces if someone's on the bench. Steven's Pokemon take 30 less damage, and we also have Granite Cave, so Steven's Pokemon take 30 less damage as well. So if we have a full bench of Carbon and we have Granite Cave, your Metagross is taking 150 less damage. So all of a sudden it's got nearly 500 HP, which is absolutely insane. And like I mentioned before, about reboot ability, you can energy accelerate it quite a lot. And having likes of Churro, this could be a really good sort of wall, heal style archetype. We have the reprint of Energy Recycler, which shuffles 3 basic energies from your discard pile into your deck. So this is very good. You can have the Energy Reutilizer from Energy Recycler. You can have the likes of Night Stretcher or Earthen Vessel to get some energies. Attach the Metagross, use its ability. Energy Accelerate will evolve and just take 150 less damage, which is absolutely insane. And generally, I think this has got a huge, really good deck on its own. And it's also really, really powerful as well for this really good energy acceleration. This deck will definitely see a lot of play. We also got the official reveal of Marnie's Grimmsnarl EX. We just see this back in Worlds, and a quick refresh of what it does. When you play this Pokemon to evolve, when it's your Pokemon in play, you may search your deck for up to 5 basic Darkness energies and attach them to your Marnie's Pokemon any way you like, shuffle your deck afterwards. Now the attack isn't amazing, it's 180 damage and 30 damage to one of your opponent's bench, but you could really power up the likes of Marnie's Morpeko, which is 70 HP, and for 3 colors, energies 20 plus 40 for each darkness energy attached to this Pokemon. Well, if you attach 5 of these energies, you're doing, well, additional 200 damage, 220 for 5 energies on a 70 HP Pokemon does seem pretty strong. You do have the Spike Muff Gym as well, which each during your turn, that player may search your deck for some Marnie's Pokemon, reveal and put it into their hand. This is obviously very good. Now, we only have seen 2 of these sort of like Marnie's and Steven's Pokemon, and hopefully we'll see a little bit more to really get some synergies with Marnie's Grimmsnarl and pitch some energy acceleration from Stevens. I'm really excited for these owners Pokemon, and I think they're going to have a really good impact. Now I want to look at the Heavenly Kings, actually analyze exactly what they think are the best way to play the owner's Pokemon. The first one, of course, we'll look at Zoroark, which is arguably, I think, probably the best owner's Pokemon. Quick refresher of what Zoroark does, has the ability pretty much like its old GX one, old Curlier, and back in the day Empoleon. It has trade, discard a card from your hand, draw 2. Very, very powerful, and its attack is basically move VMAX for 2 energies, copy one of your bench ends Pokemon. Attack. Now there's 2 really good attackers in this one. You have Duramatam, which has the attack, which pretty much you're mainly going to use. Discard or energy attached, which does 90 damage, and then if you discard those energies, you do 90 damage to one of your opponent's bench. And Restroom, which does 20 times the amount of damage counters on this one, and 170 damage to the other. Well, both of these seem really, really powerful and really strong. When you have the likes of NSPPR, you have really good energy acceleration. But what I love about what they chose for this one is having a Petron. What I love about Petron, you have that switching effect, but also works really well with the Binding Mochi, which if it's attached to a poison Pokemon, they deal 40 more damage. So all of a sudden that Duramatam is doing 130 damage based on the active Pokemon, and Reshiram, most importantly, does 210. That number sounds very familiar. Well, that carries the likes of Pheasantipity and Tealmask Ogopon. So it's also actually hitting the likes of these Petron as well. Gone on the likes of Rotom and Lumineon now in this format. This could be a really good energy accelerator. What I love is they are definitely focusing a lot more on the heavy support accounts with the 4 copies of Arven and Iono. I love having these Janine as well, having an energy acceleration as well. So your Dark Pokemon is really good. Energy Evolution is really good as well. You could even run the likes of Budu, but I really love it. It's a really good starting list for Zoroark. But also Hopzation is looking really good. I in my head really thought that Matang was the best partner, and this one really can see it. We can see how powerful it really is. Obviously, you want to be doing that additional 90 more damage with the likes of Snorlax, the Choice Band, with the the post wick. So authorization for attack for free to 110 damage, which is insane, or 330 for its other attack. Obviously, really good energy acceleration from the likes of the Metang. You could have the likes of these you can even have Blaziken in this deck, or potentially even Art Duraludon, which we will talk about a little bit later when we look at the City League results. I really like this deck. Again, it's very simple, very clean, and probably the best use of the partner for this one. Lili's Clefairy has really shocked me about how powerful it could be. I think it's definitely probably the new sort of Beat Stick 2 Prizer. For those who don't know, the ability pretty much means you do ×2 weakness on Dragon Pokemon, which is really, really strong. And the attack does 20 plus 20 for each of your bench Pokemon. Very similar to it's basically the new Lightning Rondo of the sort of format. But this works really well with the likes of Teal Mask Ogerpon. Obviously, you've got to have likes of Area Zero Underdepth, have this massive bench. And all of a sudden, if you have a full bench, if you're going second, you do additional 160 damage with 8 Pokemon in play. With the additional attack, you're doing 200 damage. You put in a bench of a couple, you're doing a huge amount of huge damage. What I love is we do play the likes of the energy switch. You can actually energy accelerate to your Clefairy very easily. You have that new Volcanion, so if it's an active spot, your opponent's active Pokemon is burnt, so guaranteed 20 damage, which is really good. You could play likes of the Brute Barnet with these Poison Mochi. That could see some play, but as you're not really focusing on dark Pokemon, I wouldn't really go that route. But obviously, you have that new Lily's Pearl. So if attached with Lily's Pokemon, they take one less prize card. So basically, making it a one prizer. Very, very scary to deal with. And I really, really love this style of deck. And speaking of really fast, aggressive decks, Iono's Belly Bolt is looking pretty strong. Now, for those who don't know, Iono's Belly Bolt has the ability which can energy accelerate, pretty much similar to like Baxcalibur, but only to Iono's Pokemon with lightning energy. And the attack does 230 damage. But you're never going to use this one. The best partner they've kind of thought about is the likes of Raging Bolt. You're already playing lightning energy, so all you just need is a fighting energy to attach to your Raging Bolt, which I love. Your Raging Bolt can get the one-hit KO on pretty much everything. You have Killer Watchel, which if you discard a energy from it, you get to draw into. You have 6, so really good energy acceleration. You have energy switch to move it to the Raging Bolt. I really, really like this sort of style of effect. You have a new stadium card as well to actually get some lightning energy from your discard pile. This could see some play. Granted, you are reliant on 2 stage 1s to actually power up Raging Bolt, when Raging Bolt is already much stronger. Just with Teal Mask Ogerpon, it could do 350 damage as early as turn 2. But we're going to talk about this a little bit later, about how much has really changed. So I really like how they really have utilized these new owners Pokemon to show exactly how strong they are in this new rotation. So let's actually look at the City League meta share. How much has changed with all the Sword and Shield cards gone, all V-Stars, the likes of these very powerful like Rotom, Forest Stone? Well, it's definitely changed a little bit. Now, the big thing is Dragapult is back at top being 20%, which is absolutely insane. It didn't really lose too much. Granted, it lost likes of Rotom, Radiant Alakazam, Luminion, Forest Stone, but it still kept majority of the same pieces. Similar could be said the likes of Raging Bolt. Raging Bolt did lose the Radiant Greninja, the Pokestops. You couldn't be very fast, very aggressive, but you're still a very fast and aggressive archetype. You definitely just learned to adapt, which we will talk about later. We see that took up nearly 40% of the meta, which is insane for those two decks. The reason why I think these probably did the best, because it's the decks that people are most comfortable with. They've been playing these for nearly a year over there, and they are definitely the strongest sort of partners right now. Didn't lose too many things. One of the decks I really want to talk about right now is this Milotic being at 7.5%. This deck came out absolutely nowhere. When we were looking at the results on Friday, when I was seeing exactly who got on the new set of the cards, was doing well, and Milotic winning the first 3 events on Friday was absolutely absurd. Obviously, it walls for damage from Terra Pokemon. If we see Charizard being 10%, Dragapult being 20%, that's 30% of the metagame, but it's absolutely walled. Cerealis chucked in there, 35% of the metagame from the top 16 results, gets absolutely can't attack in Milotic. It's very good, a good wall style strategy with the likes of Mimikyu, the likes of Cornerstone Master Ogerpon, having the likes of Noivern as well as a covered attacking option, as there's a ton of basic Pokemon. This actually could see a lot of good success, and definitely came out of nowhere, but I'm really excited to see how this is going to develop in the metagame. Could this really be the best way to play Control right now? We've lost the likes of Block Snorlax. Could this really fill the space for the likes of having a quad Iron Force archetype? Charizard, again, didn't lose too much. Yes, you've lost the likes of these Rotom, Forest, Steelstone, so you've lost that sort of technology, but maybe you go back to the Energy Evolution, Team Evolution, just go that sort of route, have a little slower pace, build up the board state, which I think is a much stronger play. Art Duraludon and the likes of Hopstation are doing really good, and Hopstation is definitely the most successful of the likes of these owners Pokemon. I really do think that Zoroark is better, but Hopstation on paper is looking the strongest. It can guarantee the one-hit KO, whereas the likes of and Zoroark is a lot more meticulous and definitely benefits more on like a format which is definitely dominated by the Dragapult from having the likes of the Dramatam to get these big one-hit KOs on the bench. So I really like this sort of format. But another thing which I love is Gardevoir still going strong. But it went from being a 20% archetype literally the week before when it had everything really good like the Curlies, and now it's gone down to a 3.6. The deck has completely changed. We've gone the likes of having these refinement curliers. So do we go to the rare candy build? Is Zoroark the best way to actually do some trading right now, to actually discard some card? Do we go for Brilliant Blender? So all of this stuff we're going to talk about. See exactly how the meta is really sort of really ramping up in this brand new format, which I love. It's so different as what I thought it would do. I was shocked to see Raging Bolt do so well, being near 20%. It completely was not in the metagame in the Prismatic Evolution. We still have Badu, and I really think Badu is going to do incredibly well in this new format right now. But kind of seeing that kind of rise up, Gardevoir still hanging strong, and Hop Station being the best owners, it's definitely a lot different than I thought it would. If we look at the top four sort of placement here, we can see again, Raging Bolt was nearly 25% of the metagame. Dragapult was nearly 20%. And we see Charizard and Milotic being there at 10%. Yes, Milotic got 8.9% of all of these top four placements. So that shows it's here to stay. I hope it's not just like a 1 week fluke, but I really can see this be a very good synergy in the metagame. When we look at the B tier, we can see the likes of Gardevoir being 4%. Golden Go kind of mainly tiered up with the likes of Dragapult, because Dragapult's a great attacking option. We saw it do well at the Champions League, so generally a good partner. And even Arcturalodon, but I really see Arcturalodon kind of be the best partner with having one Hop Station. So right now, let's actually look at some of these City League results, and we're a better place to start off by analysing Milotic. Why on earth is this doing really, really well? And for example, we can see here it has a good, clear partner. We have the likes of Beaten Farigiraf, which is a Terror, which again is a wall-style Pokemon. Blocking style effects, which again is really good, really powerful. We have the Mimikyu, we have the Cornerstone Master Ogerpon. And you can see here, there's no really new cards we've seen here. We kind of lost some of the good sort of controlling sort of archetypes, like of course like Snorlax, but this one here I think is really, really powerful. We can see we are playing a lot more of these water style archetypes. This one here runs the more of the likes of the Noivern. Having the Noivern with the energy acceleration, heck, you have counter gains. You can actually attach for only one energy, which is really strong. And if we're in a big basic format, for example, if owner's Pokemon, like for example Hops and Clefairy does really, really well, and we're kind of going back to Raging Bolt being nearly 25% of the metagame, Noivern could actually see a good spot on these sort of Wally style decks. Granted, you are a little bit slower, so that's where the likes of TM Evolution could be really good, especially hiding behind a Mimikyu. Definitely going to be a deck to really watch out for. Now let's look at Gardevoir, some of the big sort of decks which have completely changed their post-rotation. This one here, we can see this is looking a bit similar to what we've seen previously, but it is running Secret Box, which is what we're used to in a very fast sort of build, but it isn't running the likes of Team Evolution. It's still running 3 Curliers, but it kind of focuses on maybe try and get it on as quick as possible, and then mainly use likes of Rare Candy early to get into your Gardevoir. We can still see the Monkey Dories having a great play. Mew EX is in here. Obviously, he's got a good attack as well to copy any sort of Pokemon around him. You could draw to have 3, so you have some sort of synergy draw. But what I love about it, you are playing likes of Lily's Clefairy. This is really good. Like I mentioned before, the ability to hit weakness on dragons is really strong and do 20 times the amount of bench Pokemon both players have. You can max out 220, but we're in decks where Raging Bolt is really focusing on kind of going with these Area Zero under depth, so potentially it could do even huge damage, get these big one-hit KOs and bolts out of nowhere. So I really like this one. But it was a great sort of inclusion in this likes of Gardevoir, and I think it's definitely here to stay, Gardevoir, right now in this metagame. This one here is running likes of Zoroark. Why Zoroark? Well, if you're kind of playing this one, they're like, well, I want a guaranteed discarding vector, so it's going to work here. I'm going to discard my psychic energies and power up the big Gardevoir attack. I think this is good, but it's definitely a big of a gimmick. I don't like this one as well, but it did get top 4, so definitely something to still be considering if you're testing. Your main attackers will of course be likes of the Drifloon and the Scream Tail. You have the Monkey Dories, 3 of them, so you can actually move them around. You have the likes of these what's it called, the brilliant trolleys to actually bench everything out here. You have the Team Evolution to try and get out your Zoroark very, very quickly. Heck, the Darkness Energy of Energy switch, you can actually attack with Zoroark, but you can't actually do any damage. So there is some sort of things here. It's fun, it's silly, and I love that about post rotation. We're seeing how unique and different some of the people we approach really is. Now we'll go to Dragapult, and I've noticed a huge change with Dragapult. Now, for a deck which didn't lose too much, granted we did lose Lance, which was great against likes of Badu, so many players over there in Japan have kind of shifted their mindset to Xatu, having energy acceleration as well as also having draw factors. They're kind of really valuing over likes of a Crispin or the likes of Sparkling Crystal, which we are seeing in this deck here. Is this the best way to play Dragapult right now? For someone who has been putting a ton of testing for EUIC as playing Dragapult, I don't really see the synergy right now, but I think the Dusknoir is definitely a much more beneficiary right now in this format. But This could see some sort of play, some sort of success, but I think this build here, the top four list here, is very similar to what we're used to. Having these thick 4-4-3 line of Dragapult, having the 2-1-2 line of Dusknoir, having the Halucha, which I love, having that little cheeky ping that can get that little 10 damage as well, which you can use for boss's orders up that Pheasantipity to actually hit that 220 damage, which I absolutely love. We also seen the likes of Shark. Shark obviously guarantees search your deck for an evolving Pokemon, so you can get your Dusknoirs, you can get your Dragapults, or even your Dracloaks if you're sitting behind a Bardoo for just a few turns. I like this build of Dragapult. I think having the team evolution, if we're seeing how powerful Dragapult really is in the metagame right now, seeing how powerful Charizard is, it could be really good to get quite a few TM Evos. This is when a rare candidate becomes even more valuable when you play this one. So generally, this could be maybe this is where Dragapult is going. It's more of a spread style archetype. But also, Raging Bolt has changed quite a bit. As it's been nearly 20% of the metagame, what exactly are people playing this one? Well, they're actually going with Noctowl. And the majority of the Raging Bolt list are kind of split 50-50 between the Noctowl build and the likes of playing this regular, straight for like 5-bench Pokemon, but I really like it with Noctowl. You can just guarantee you can get your Earthen Vessels for energy. You can guarantee your starters. You can guarantee having this huge bench sort of space as well. And also, you can have the Cornerstone Master Ogerpon at the start, warding out the opponent's Pokemon if it's not needed damage from physical ability. We've noticed that most of the attackers right now really rely on abilities, so this is actually a really good sort of choice right now. So I'm loving the style of how this deck is really evolving. Again, you could see this sort of build as well, going more of the secret box approach and having that new stadium as well for a couple of sets ago, which actually boosts up his HP. Going over the likes of any sort of good sort of cards like Luminio to guarantee you get a supporter card, but I really like having these power glass as well. So actually attached to a Raging Bolt, if you have to pass a turn, the Energy Accelerate choice one could be a really good sort of way. We are seeing kind of like majority of the stuff we're talking about hasn't really lost too many things like Gardevoir, but we are noticing that decks are kind of changing quite a bit. Now let's look at Charizard, and this build here, I feel like definitely did get hurt quite a bit from post-rotation because of the likes of how valuable Rotom was, Lumineon, as well as the Forest was saying to actually get all your pieces. This build here is definitely focusing going back to the team evolution, kind of evolving into your Charmeleons quite early on, the Pidgeot as well, kind of saving your rare candies when you might need it in the later sort of term. I like the Terror as well, guaranteeing a way to get your Charizard, saving your Ultra Balls for later, as you don't really have Feather Ball to get your Pidgeots anymore. Heavy Ball as well is very, very valuable right now, so we actually wrote that's completely gone and rotated. So people are going with the likes of these precious trolleys to actually max out their bench as much as possible. And Shark as well, we're seeing in quite a lot of evolution decks. Could this be a good sort of forward thinking about actually guaranteeing to get your evolving Pokemon? This is something which I love talking about rotation. It's so different and so fresh. He's only really had 3 days of results. And actually, our Terrapagos is also doing incredibly well in this format, which I really like. It's nearly one of the most popular places to play Terrapagos and also the most popular plays are. Obviously, we've lost the likes of the guaranteed your Pidgeot EX by with the likes of the Feather rotating, but I like this build here. It plays the likes of one Lily's Clefairy as well as also these Lily's Pearl, so you can hit these huge damage at the late sort of style game. And I generally really, really like this style of deck. Granted, obviously, the Lily you can actually end accelerate it from the likes of Charizard. This could be a best way to play it. Again, we're seeing Shark, so it's a good supporter to get any of your cards you might need. Again, should just be thinking about it for evolving decks. Should we be putting Jacques in our archetypes to actually guarantee we can get some of these evolving Pokemon as our supporter? Now let's actually look at some of these owners Pokemon which are doing well. And the first one to look at is Hopzation. And this one here is a very interesting build. We can see here they're playing a 4-3 line, a very thick line of Artradon. Could be used as an attacking option, but also a great end accelerator for likes of Hopzation EX. Check out on a Hopzation EX, you can do that 240 damage, and we can see they have the post-it, we have the choice bound, as also the Snorlax as well, so you can hit for that magic 330 damage. I do like having the Cramorant as well, which can only attack if the opponent has 3 or 4 prizes, which again is really good. But we can see here that majority of the sort of archetype here is focusing more on the Artradon, but does have a like a hop sort of packaging as well. I like having some sort of recovery cards like the Super Potion, which could see quite well. Obviously, you are discarding some energies, which actually fuels into Artradon's ability. Could see some player. I really like how this Hopzation is built. This one here is more of the traditional build, one which kind of like saw what some of the players kind of like Teska in Japan for some of the top players over there, and I much prefer this style of build. I like having the Matan because you're not sacrificing a 2 prizer for energy acceleration. You're using a single prizer, looking at the top 4. Granted, you may not hit any of these energies, but you do play the heavy count of Super Rod, the heavy count of a metal energy. So it's also really good for thinning. You actually can remove some cards, which can obviously benefit you in the later game. You also have Forever Room, as your metal Pokemon have a guaranteed draw until you have 6 if you discard a metal energy. I really like this card. You mainly are focused on using Zacian as main attacking. You go through like the Cornerstone Master Ogerpon, but could definitely struggle against some sort of Mimikyu, which is why I still think Snorlax is great. Maybe even a Crown as well for actual attacking option. But this build of Hopstation is so interesting and so unique. You're never really attacking with its last attack. You're using its first attack, which is 30 damage and 30 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. And also Cramorant as well. But why is this good? Well, you have a choice box to actually attack for free, and you have the likes of the Dusknoir. Spread a ton of damage on this one. This is much more of a spread style deck, which is so interesting. And one of the things which I love about this one, we're seeing this creativity, and it has popped up a fair bit. I love this build, and generally could be the best way to play this one with the likes of Dusknoir and likes of Cramorant. Could it, like, for as a hop cell archetype, you have the Badu to slow down the opponent. Just a little bit of chip. You have the likes of either Dusknoir, these huge popping damage out as well. Spread some damage, potentially take 2 or 3 or even 4 prize turns with the likes of Hopstation, which is really, really powerful. You have the Cramorant as well. If you have everything attached to this one, doing 100, 210 damage. And make sure that's the magic number. KO's likes of Serendipity, the Latias, all these really powerful support Pokemon. You also have the Zacian as well, which also does 110 damage, which nearly 3 shots everything in this format. Definitely something very a unique approach for Hopstation, and potentially could be a really, really fun way to play. And this one here, this top 16 one, I just wanted to showcase this one. Kind of like playing all the hops of cards we're used to. It's all the double, which I really like as a guaranteed gusting effect. You have the hops Pokebag like bag to actually get all your basic Pokemon. You have the Matang for energy acceleration. You have the Postwick. You have the Choice Belt. I just like this one. I know it didn't do the best placement, but it's just to show that a deck with pretty much all the gross of hop cards were actually put into one, which is very unique. Now let's actually look at End Zoroark, and this winning list here, it's a different approach to what we saw before, but still goes on very similar sort of values. Now again, I really love the Petrant as a really good switching out, and also the Binding Mochi for that really good sort of huge attack option it has in later game. But also, I really like the reversal energy. If you're behind, you can actually attack with your Dramatam and not just have it on the bench and attack with your Zoroark. So again, that's something which I really, really like about this deck. You also have the Power Glass as well, energy acceleration. Instead of like taking a little bit of while and only relying on likes of Ends PP up, you can actually guarantee that energy attachment from that tool card. You have the Ends Castle for that free retreat. You even have Hops Cramorant in this one, which is the first time I've seen like them intermingle, which I really, really like about this one. I think just another good attacking option in the late game. Check out Binding Mochi on this one, all that lot. We're doing this, you're doing 100 and, what's that, 40 more down, 160 damage for 1 energy. Very, very scary as a single prize Pokemon. So again, there's lots of really fun stuff about this End Zoroark. I really, really love this build, and potentially I'm leaning more towards this build because I really find it's definitely a really strong build. And actually look at this Lily's Clefairy, did actually get top 4 and top 8, sorry. We can just see that this is the favorite build, but a lot of people are favoring towards and the Lilies build. We aren't really relying on likes of the Rabombe looking at opponent's hand and like benching as a basic Pokemon. That's only really good if you could do it on the first turn and actually stop any of these instant play effects. But gone are the likes of Lumineon, so it's not as powerful as people really think. And we look at this Art Durage on this top 4, and I really like this one. It actually is playing that new Dunsparce. Dunsparce obviously that really good. It's like draw 3, shuffle it into the deck. Very good for energy acceleration. So draw factor. So why not just team up with this other Dunsparce? You can obviously energy accelerate from the likes of Art Durage, but attack doing 60 times the amount of EX on the opponent's side. Well, for example, this one is nearly predominantly EXs. This can have huge one-hit KO potential for one single energy. So I really like this one. I've been even trying out Shenpao and post-rotation with having this Dunsparce EX. Could this generally be a good way to how certain archetypes kind of function? We've gone the likes, said goodbye to likes of Bibarel. So it's Dunsparce the new sort of best partner, and just chucking it to Dunsparce EX could potentially mean they guarantee one-hit kill on most things, whereas the Arturagon needs that two-shotting and hopefully healing. And finally, I want to kind of like talk about one interesting deck, which is Mammoth Swine that one, which is really interesting. Of course, this is the one which can guarantee searching effect and does 180 plus 40 more for each of these stage 2 Pokemon you have out and play. Obviously, you have a ton of stage 2 Pokemon out. You can hit for these huge 300 over damage. So you can see here, it does play the Luxray, the Dragapult, the Pidgeot, the Blaziken for energy acceleration, Pidgeot to get anything you want, Dragapult to actually attack in the later style sort of game, which is really good to spread some damage out there. And I just really, really like it has some really good of these comeback cards, like Kling Clang, like Luxray, these behind style cards which can put into play. You have the Grand Trees, guarantee you can get out your Pidgeot, get out your Mammoth Swine, get out your Blaziken. Just a really fun sort of style archetype. And it's good to see that people really are still being creative in post rotation. So that's kind of like covering out the rest of this video. And one thing I really want to talk about is Milotic now a threat? We've seen it do really well by preventing all damage from Terra Pokemon and winning all events on Friday. And still fair to say, it was pretty much 10% of all top 4 archetypes. So is this really the best sort of new threat to the metagame. What is the best new owners Pokemon? If we look at results, Optation is, but I still really think Zoroark is the best one. I know we don't have that many of these owners or Pokemon, it's really focusing more on these decks, so I really want to see some more creativity kind of shine. And we've only really hit the third sort of a weekend, and we're seeing Regidrago is back. It was back at the top by being in sorry, nearly 20% of the archetypes. So that's generally really, really shocking to see after it pretty much disappeared from the metagame beforehand. So just want to say thank you so much for supporting the channel. As you know, 2 years ago, I came up with this sort of idea of looking ahead, and I'm so happy I'm still talking about it 2 years later. So just want to say thank you so much for the support. Comment down below, what deck are you surprised about post-rotation? Do you think the metagame is really shaking up that much? We did lose some very impactful cards, like some very strong archetypes like Regidrago and the likes of Lugia. Do we actually miss them? Me personally, I do not, as I haven't really thought about them too much. I'm really excited about these owner style decks. So I'm going back next week. I've got definitely doing some more of these shorts as well, analyzing and showcasing some of these really interesting archetypes in this post-rotation format. My name is Charlie TCG, and I'll see you guys later.